I'm Margaret in Windsor, and I am going to stick my neck out here, so to speak. I'm pretty sure, but I'm just going to put it up here, and I guess we'll see. Time will tell, I guess. My age, I'm wondering. I'm Margaret in Windsor, and I'm going to put this because people won't relate to it unless I do if they pick the video up for the first time. I was kidnapped in 1941 at age 2 and brought to Moulton, Alabama. My father is King Edward VIII. My mom is Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, Queen of England, 1936, when my father they should always have remained. They were illegally taken down with character assassination by the American government. Plain and simple. The Freemasons, the Illuminati. President Roosevelt appointed JFK's father, Joe Kennedy, ambassador in 1936. Listen at the timeline. He was kicked out in 46. He was ambassador to England. And then JFK helped in my kidnapping. He flew in there in 39 and 42 and stayed in the embassy and spoke before Parliament. How's that? Let me say this. I think that's an act of terror when you kidnap and take down a monarch and you lie at character assassination and take down King Edward VIII, my father, who's a wonderful man, and my mom. You disposed of them both. They were still alive, but they could do nothing. Their hands were tied. His own brother, and I hate to even say this, I really do. I'm going to go blank on his name. I really am. Elizabeth's father. I go blank on her name too, I think. I should. And I'm laughing to get through it. So I'm going to relate to this, and I guess we'll see. And it's not funny. This is how I get through it. None of this is funny to me. The fact that what you did to my sons who are heirs after me, so help me God. I hope, well, I hope there's justice. And that'd be hard to accomplish, but I sure wish I'd see some of it done. Now, they had this morning, and it certainly isn't funny, so don't mistake my trying to get through some pain and suffering as meaning that. It's either that, cry, or scream. There was a car crashed in to the Berries, I believe, in front of Parliament. A year ago, or almost, I'm not sure it's the exact day today, but a car crashed there and people were killed. I'm not familiar with that one, or I don't remember it, but they were talking about that this morning, and Parliament's investigating. And not much more was said other than they thought it might be related to the terrorist attack last year about this time. Now I'm going to relate to this time, and I'm not going to tell you some of the things because, quite frankly, it could hurt the people or persons, okay, as to what happened here. It was what happened later, about a year ago. I'll say this, out North Creek Campground, okay? And I hope and pray it's true that, you know, I'd like to go home and tell this before Congress. I know that I'm not, I didn't get to go to school where I should have. I didn't learn the social graces. But you know what I have in me? I learned that kindness and honesty was way above those things. So if I were ever able to go home, I'll eat. If someone wants to make fun of it, something's wrong with them or the way I dress, because I've been stripped naked and everything done to me and my children. And so far, I haven't survived. I'm 79 years old, taken from parents who love me very much, who love my country, my country, England. Now, what happened this past Sunday, a year ago, this I think is related here. It's like, well, okay, I'm just going to put this up, and these is written. Was the Robert E. Lee, and I'm going to go ahead and say it again. I admire Robert E. Lee. He was a great general, so don't get me wrong. I admire George Wallace, the governor, who was shot in Laurel, Maryland, when Dempsey, the woman, when I was kidnapped, I was put there. She is a house of horror. She's dead now. She was with U.S. Senator John Sparkman when he died. She was as his companion aide, and she was drawing disability off Social Security. She killed her twins. I was put there by the Kennedys, the Illuminati. My own uncle gave them access, Elizabeth's father. So I can go on and on. You can get that. But anyway, this past Sunday was a year ago that they had the protests in Charlottesville. And George Wallace was shot by a program shooter, which is what I've been telling about. Lana Dempsey was there. It was a rally for him in Laurel, Maryland. He didn't like her. She imposed herself on the campaign as a volunteer. So the very fact that he shot, and I'm telling all this, and I'm kidnapped, and she's a woman who killed her twins and gave me the name of Peggy. My name is Margaret Ann Windsor. So I've put all this up, and by the way, Sparkman, how do you think NASA got built? Was built? There was so much funneled in, and Sparkman, Senator Sparkman was part of that process. And I remember in 1980 when I was almost killed, April Fool Day, I had a letter from the FBI. And June 23rd, my dad's birthday, but this is 79, and I had written the book about mind control murders, how they're done, programming. And I've always said from way back, it's the Tesla files that were stolen in 1930. Well, it gets into a lot other about the Illuminati and all that, and how they were into all of it. Tesla had so much knowledge, I have to wonder how he got it. I mean, I know he was brilliant, but it was a bit much if you look at it. And it was about how you can cure an illness or create one, and he's talking about mind control. So all this today of they're still getting donations and everything for the heart, for the cure cancer. They've had cures since way back then. So anyway, I've told about this, and if I'm getting away from it, I'm going to try to get back from the subject, but this is a part of it. I could remember, okay, I had the letter from the feds. I was doing the book. Larry Flint was shot by program shooter in 78. And okay, that's, and the judge killed, and his attorney killed, and his, one of them was killed and the other one was shot. And Mr. Flint, I don't know how he could have survived because his insides were blown on the sidewalk in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And that's March of 6th of 78. Now I'm going to try to get back to this. But I was telling about the book and the FBI letter, and in this about the Tesla files, I thought I'd go back, and I put up some papers. I've lost most of them about the Tesla files and being stolen, but I still had some copies I put up yesterday. I don't know which one. I put several up videos. But anyway, I thought I better go back because I remember seeing or reading where, and I didn't look his first name up. His middle name is George Trump. He's an uncle to President Trump. And this is back in 1930, and he was part of stealing the Tesla files. So it's recorded on YouTube, and FBI, because the FBI has got on these articles, and this is what I saw back then. Only I didn't know anything about President Trump or anything about he would become president or who he was. I like him, by the way. But anyway, his uncle went to MIT, was a professor, I believe, but he was accused of stealing the files, Tesla files, and they get into things that everybody should be concerned about. And okay, it gets into mind control. You can program people to do anything. They become puppets. They're not aware they're being programmed. And then it's blamed on mental illness, which is a crock, plain and simple. And if this is ever told, where are your psychiatrists in here, your doctors? If I were ever put up there and could live to tell it, I can tell you so much that can be proven right there. If they don't, well, I'm not going to say about one person. I'm not going to hurt that person because there's some kind of stigma. If someone is programmed, they didn't do it for God's sakes. This is what I've been telling. It's done without their knowledge. And you talk about the American civil liberty. Where in the heck have they been on this? You can cure illnesses, create it. You can program as many people as you want to, it would appear. Now then, what's that got to do with Heather Heyer over here in Charlottesville last year? Oh, there's other things in here, but check out what this driver did. The precision more in the driving, but the collection. Just like in the Grand Theater where James Holmes was put in mental hospital and given psychotic drugs. You know, there's a couple of people on my videos that commented that made very nasty remarks to me. I've gotten no pay for this. I was kidnapped. I have been tortured, and my children. And I have to wonder, hey, buddy, maybe they should program you and you could go out and be on death row because you committed a crime like the Virginia Tech. The young man shot 32 and they died, and he was programmed to shoot himself. But so before you start calling me names because you're some kind of bully, and I hate to even mention you on this video because you get off on it, I've told the truth whether you like it or not. So anyway, Heather Heyer was killed. And this, I don't remember the young man's name that went into the crowd with the car, but this has happened before, like the motorists or the 18-wheelers in France go down and mow people down. They're programmed. Some of them are anyway. So anyway, they've not anything against her, but to show you what the media can do, and the people did, they've elevated her almost to a saint. They renamed the street over there in Charlottesville with her name. And anyway, where I live, and I moved in here before that happened. I moved here in July. It's been hard to stay because I can't afford the rent, but I've been forced to move. And, you know, I guess this has been the more comfortable. And this is, quite frankly, this place that I'm supposed to be. I'll just say that. But anyway, the lady who's manager here, her first name is Heather. She's been here a long time. But this is what's connected in this. The name Heather up there. Then, about this time, well, it was a little later, toward the end of the month. Something happened up at North Creek Campground because I really couldn't afford to stay here that week. So I went up there and took a tent and tried to camp, and man, was that hell. Anyway, the name Heather comes in there, plus something else I'm not going to say. Now then, if I've lost everybody, imagine what I go through in trying to keep it together, trying to tell it when I'm being, all this horror that I've told you is true is being done to me, plus not knowing about my sons. And so anyway, is it connected? I'll say this, it's the timing. And the fact that act of terrorism kidnapping me and taking down my father, the monarch. And I'm the monarch now, the legal. It was all legal. When I was born, my father made arrangements and it went through legal court, everything. So it was legal. I'm the monarch the minute I was born. So, do you think that's an act of terrorism? I would think it's the ultimate. You talk about Mueller is having all this investigation into Russia interfering with elections in the United States. My God, you want to know who kidnapped? Well, Anastasia was killed up here. I was driving through there, and I hope I don't lose you on this because I think there is a connection with the crash there in London now. And there's another crash there last year, and what's going on here. Because they have not totally forgotten me. Even though Elizabeth is up there and people think she's a hero, my God, I hope this is all told. I hope to God I live and it's told. And people are punished. But it'd take God, I've said that for a long time, to bring it about, to do it. So, where am I here? Anyway, it was no accident, the Heather and Heather, where I met, and the one up there in Charlottesville. I was talking about Anastasia. When I had gotten into researching and everything, and it's not easy for me to do this, being penniless and a pauper, and no clothes and begging, and trying to laugh it off or find some humor to get me through before this goes out. Eleanor Roosevelt, after I'd put all this up first, about a month ago, I read a book, or part of it was a book that had inserts about her book. And my God, it led to Woodrow Wilson, the president from Stanton, Virginia. I used to live up there in 84. 85 and pump gas, and the Hustler car was parked there. I was pumping gas working in a Exxon, a little country store there, and called Reineke's, and it's next to Stanton, and Stanton is not too far from Charlottesville, and that's where Anastasia was killed. And I hope I've tried to put it up in the past. I was going through there when she was killed. I just found out about my real name and everything and been in that campaign. And she was killed on a Sunday. It was either the 4th or 6th of May. It was on the radio at 9 a.m. when I was going through there, and 84. And I put up that Hustler magazine because I think they gave me that as proof. I mean, if that happened, how can someone say the other didn't? I lived it. I know it happened. It can be checked out. Anyway, they killed her. And they have rearranged things. And it's sad what the woman went through and who killed her and how. But back to Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt really, her husband and her sons, her family after then, had Churchill over there. He was part of taking down my father and knowing about kidnapping me and the cover-up and everything. So Churchill actually had an apartment within the White House. He had limos furnished for him. I guess so, when you're a turncoat. And these people are made to look like heroes, and my father is still being called everything in the book, and marrying Wallace Simpson, which just about tears me apart. Wallace Simpson was an American spy, and she married an imposter. It's so horrifying that they've gotten away with it. I've said dig that B up, and he's